things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, good evening, folks. How are you this very fine evening? It's about 6-ish. Oh, shit, I'm running a bit late. Do apologise. Pardon me. I hope you've had a good sort of a day. Been an interesting one around here, I can tell you. We have a winner. In fact, we have two winners. I should have put that in the heading. We have two winners. Congratulations, Donna, who's picked up $750. And congratulations, Petra, who's picked up one of these with a full and complete heap of the Ainsley Bullion Byron Bob. They're 1/10 rounds. Beautiful little thing. You'll be amazed at how light they are. Yep, it's only 1/10 of an ounce of silver in each coin. There's 10 of them in there, adds up to an ounce. And, well, as you can see, if you've been following, let me just bring up the thing and tells me what it... Okay, so over the last few days, silver has dropped back a little bit. In fact, it's probably dropped back about $1.70 from what it was 2 or 3 days ago. It's got down, I think, as low I saw as 62.33. It sat at about 62.5 for most, I think, of yesterday and a portion of today. It a little earlier, not all that long ago, it was at 62.67, and now it's at 62.84. So my guess is that that little bounce might be happening again. So if you manage to buy it on the bottom end, I don't expect we're going to see 65.5 or 62.5 again. I think it's going to bounce a little harder, but let's see. I don't know. I haven't read Ainsley's analysis of it today, but looking at that price and looking at gold, it's back over 5,500 at 55.05.65. Platinum is nearly at 2,100 again. So it looks like everything's bouncing across the board. And that might be because some interesting things happened in America with the Federal Reserve. They have dropped interest rates by 0.25% or 25 basis points, however that works over there. That's going to have a bit of an impact here too on all sorts of things. So we'll wait and see what happens. G'day, Tony, my good friend. You were the first person in the room today. Hope you're all well, brother. I think I said last night that not the check, but there's a few things in the mail for you. So hopefully, I don't think you'll get them this week, but you will get them early next week is the plan. Look at you boys. The bear is in the house early tonight too. G'day, big fella. Hope you're doing all right. We're going to try and link up. And are you back from Sydney? I think you probably would be by now. You were down there helping somebody move, I know, over the weekend. So I hope you're back in time. Do they put on a special aircraft to fly a bloke your size down there, or do you just drive, make it a bit easier? I'm not saying Clayton is a big, like, wide man. Clayton is just a big guy. I don't know. I might be exaggerating, but 7 foot is probably an exaggeration, but 6 foot something. Big. And he has a beard down to here. So I'm very envious of his beard. Extremely envious. Who else is in the house? The lovely Michelle Bradley Smith, Andrew, and that's about Paul, all the early inners, so to speak. Margot, I want to say thank you to the prayers for everybody, from everybody, for Margie Sedgman. Now, Margie has had her operation finally. Now, as I speak, I should have been telling you about this last night. So she had the surgery 2 nights ago now. She has been in a lot of pain, and so I haven't contacted her until she got the pain under control a bit. They were working on it pretty solidly to make that happen. So thank you to everybody who helped there. Thank you to Clayton, who I know bought the last 4 tickets in the last lottery, so that we were able to get a winner. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate that. And I'm sorry you didn't win it. But Petra and Donna, woohoo! Congratulations, $750. If you would like to go and let's see if anybody has actually bought a ticket in it yet, the new one. You could be the first. In fact, you would be the first if you go to our merch.vof.com website and click on the link. But I'll paste it here into the chat so that you can be the first. Who knows? Lucky first might be able to do it. This is draw number, I want to say 7. It might be 8. Vince will correct me. But that means we are one more draw closer to changing from what is a pretty spectacular little piece, I've got to tell you, with the rounds in it. We will be giving away another gram of gold. So if you are liking to increase your stack, and it might only be a very little stack with grams of gold, but the more grams of gold you've got, well, I don't know what a gram of gold's going for at the moment. Maybe we should have a look, hey? Because I know people like to stack gold. So let's see what a 1 gram gold. Well, is it going to search for me? Have I got to have a think? Gold. We are looking at. Oh, they're 100ths. Oh, we don't want 100ths there. Have you ever seen a 100th of a gram of gold? It's like a wafer. It is just so thin. So 1 gram minted, we are looking at $213 worth. There you go, nearly $214 worth at the moment. So there's that. And then I just happened to click on a 1/10, or it's just underneath it, a 1/10 gold kookaburra, $636.25. Well, maybe one day in the not too distant future, we might be able to put a 1/10 gold coin inside one of our Voice of Freedom holders. And I don't know if Pete from Pinaroo is in the house tonight, but I did see in the chat last night he was bragging. Not bragging, I'm telling a lie. But he was saying that there will be gold leaf on the ones that he and his young bloke are putting together. Gold leaf Voice of Freedom. So I think, I don't know if that's real gold leaf or it's just going to be a golden sort of plastic. Whichever way, I think it'll be spectacular. And I've already had people who've said, righto, well, I want one of each, please. One of each style. Because we had a talk last night, obviously, about how these could be, kind of, sort of, I guess, if you felt that way. You're a collector. These would be a collecting kind of thing. So you would have, in fact, let me get the other one out, if I can. Do I have it? Oh, I don't have it here. Oh, I may have had to use it. There's this version, which has me colouring in this. You won't get a version of that. I have a version of this that is completely uncoloured by me, but these are the prototypes, and you know, this one's got a loose kind of lid, so I'll hang on to these ones. But you'll get much better quality because Vince redesigned things, and the lid now is just magnificent. We have had the people who I've sent them to this week. Mostly, hello Adele. I'm glad you like yours. G'day Jan. G'day June. Thank you very much for the emails, and I know you love yours. Mitch should be getting his maybe tomorrow, and Shane, yours is on the way. Thank you, Deb, for your email. I think I've sent you one back. I'm sorry I missed it the first time, but we will look after you with that. And our good friend Eyeball, or One Eye, as he's also known as, he wants to get one of each. So from the plain to the hand painted, and I've got to say, pretty spectacular, hand printed, well, machine printed, hand painted by Vince version. Then there is the Silver Fox version, which I think I still have a picture from last evening. these will be the Silver Fox version. They absolutely look amazing. And that's because there's two different sorts of plastic used in them rather than what's had to happen with Vince's. And then, of course, what we hope to have is one from Pete from Pinaroo that has a gold one on top. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a 1/10 gold coin or bigger? Oh, we'd have to get Vince to redesign the box if it was going to be bigger, because I'm assuming that the 1/10 gold coin will fit in the 1/10 holder. Might be wrong. May have to be a redesign for that too. But anyway, we're going to have to sell a lot more tickets in the lottery before we can afford to go and put one of those in a box somewhere and surprise someone with it. We would really like to do that. But the only way that's going to happen is if you go to merch.vofhq.com and click on the $750 Sanctuary link, and the money that you do put in, $2 a ticket. I think you can buy a maximum of 20 tickets. We share that with the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary, the wonderful Sandy and Baz, who I haven't scrolled all the way to the bottom yet. Thank you, Aussie Sue. I haven't done that. God love you, woman. G'day, Connie. Not sure if Sandy's in here yet. So, yeah, Deb Shepard, not Shepard, Shepard, is going to get some sent her way shortly. And I'm not sure that Sandy's in. She might be a bit knackered after a big day with the donkeys, which, well, may not be. She was celebrating the arrival of her Byron Bobs and sent me a text because hers isn't signed and doesn't have a number. So she has the one that I buggered it all up on. So, yeah. Bit of a pity that I did that, but a bit of an exciting thing that it's gone out like that. So I'm so glad that somebody close to the family really got it. So that's wonderful. And I will, of course. Oh, here's Sandy. Oh, yes, of course, because the winners are going to get a donkey pack. What was I thinking? God love you, Sandy. I'm so pleased that you got that one, and thank you for getting some. Just to say, heavy duty country. Thank you, Brett. Can you email me a link? That'd be great. Carl@vofhq.com. That'd be great. Sorry, I'm a bit slow today. I haven't had a shower yet. My eyes are, shall I say, gritty at the very least. I did try and wash them out, but they're very sore and I'm blinking a lot, so I apologise. Yes, Stephen. Yes, Stephen. What can I say? But yes. Well, I could probably say a lot more, but yes, Stephen.
Zionists not welcome. England for the English, Britain for the British. Out with the
Yeah, now he's somewhere in Israel, very close to Gaza. He sent me an email today, and when I say he sent me an email, I just, for some reason, somebody's put me into his mailing list. So I get an email today, Avi, dear Carl, here I am in Israel, and I'm looking at piles of food right here on pallets with trucks ready to take it across the border and feed the starving people. But we're not allowed. We're not able. We can't do this for, you'll have to watch the show to find out why that is. But, well, I'm pretty sure the reason is if they take the trucks in there, there's a big likelihood they're going to get blown up by the Israelis who are throwing the bombs over the wall, the guns, the howitzers, the aircraft. That probably would really mess up the distribution. I mean, it'd be very effective distribution in one sense, in that it will get distributed. It just won't be much use when it gets there. So Avi's over there I'm not sure whether or not when he arrived in Israel, he said he ran into a problem. And I appreciate you, Brett. And he needed money to get him out of something. I don't know. It's really surprising for a Zionist. He's always got his hand out. And I think knowing how that side of it all works for them, he has no problem raising money, getting money at all. In fact, he could go to the bank and get an interest-free loan without a problem in the world if he wanted it. So now it's just, I guess, an exercise of how much money he can take off the goyim. Because I got to say, anyway, I'm not out to bash him. I just need people to wake up to a few of the things that are going on. And it's difficult because folks in Melbourne know Melbourne and know the intricacies and the players in Melbourne intimately. Folks in Sydney, they know the players in Sydney intimately. You know, they've been running into them face to face, working with them for years in both cases. In Brisbane and the Gold Coast and sort of the Northern Rivers area, there's been a consistent group who've been, you know, through there in the last few years. And in Western Australia, in South Australia, Northern Territory, and in far North Queensland, I think they've been relatively independent groups. I've forgotten where I was going with this. This couldn't help. It had something to do with Avi. Recently in Melbourne, there was a big story put out by, well, all of them, I think, but it was touted as Melbourne's, you know, alt media team. Monica, Avi, Rukshan, who I have a lot of respect for, and Topher, who I have some respect for as well. He does some really, really, really good work. However, when it all came to push and shove last weekend, where were they all? They were all bagging something, all calling about division. And I've been one of these people who have been pointing out probably the division. And I don't want it to be pointing out division, but it seems to be that people forgive a lot very quickly, or they forget very quickly. And in fact, I'm living a case of that at the moment, where people have forgotten the lies that have been told to them and exposed to them to a point where they fully know that they have been lied to about various things numerous times, to go full circle and start believing the same lies again, wholeheartedly believing them, when those same lies are coming from the same person. Just goes to show well, I'll write a book about it one day soon. Yeah, so their little media group didn't even bother turning up, as far as I'm aware. And if they did turn up, they were down at the other alt protest for the Palestinians, and whoever else turned up there wearing whatever else they might have worn. I don't think there were too many people there. And it seemed like zero coverage. I couldn't find anybody who was streaming from there, although Amanda Sheedy seems to think somebody was down there doing it. But anyway, I'm not going to speak on it. And it's not about, I don't want there to be that division. In fact, Vince has done an interesting video over on FBN Media, and I'm sure he'll copy it and put a link up in the chat. But he's done an interesting chat where he speaks a lot about Charlie Kirk and the mission that Charlie Kirk was on, and a desire for us to think more like Charlie, I think, be a little more open, a little more understanding, a little less aggressive. in what we believe, what we think. As Charlie Kirk said, if you stop communicating, you start fighting. If you stop throwing words, you start throwing punches. And that's exactly right. So he's covered that. He's covered, 3 areas. But he also, the one I'm particularly interested in was he covered the freedom movement and the division, the people who are battling for a share of the market. Let's call it that, because that's what it is. Now, I think I'm being pretty obvious that if I'm going to get a share of the market, it's only because what I'm putting out is worth your time and your effort. So I have this sort of a share of the market, and I appreciate you all very, very much. If I had more people around me and was able to hand out a few jobs and get editing and all that sort of stuff done, this would be a very different presentation, and we might be able to do a bit more. But as it's only really me, it's what it is. What we need to do, as Vince highlights, is we need to put aside whatever these divisions are. And in fact, in this video, Vince highlights, he talks about the flags, the blue rag, as I refer to it, the corporate flag of Australia. And he also refers to our land flag. But when he puts up an example, it was late, it was in the middle of the night, and one red flag looks the same as another, so he's put up the naval or the merchant flag. So we corrected that today, and we had a bit of a discussion about why it needed to be corrected. And he hasn't gone in and re-edited, but you will find that there is an explanation and a link that will take you to the Voice of Freedom main page, vofhq.com, that will explain to you what that flag with the 9-pointed star on the bottom of the Southern Cross actually means, and what years it was effective, and what the blue flag is a corporate entity. It doesn't it has a place. All right. Some of us might struggle to find that place, or may think that that place is somewhere rather unsavory that we'd like to shove it. But it does have a place. And I think because we would be fighting a rearguard action trying to bring forward an argument for the red flag, so to speak, right now, I think in times ahead, there might just be, because of what's happened and what will be exposed, we are praying will be exposed soon, from this corrupt, foreign, belligerent occupier of this nation, that people here won't want to have anything to do with the blue flag, or they may say, no, well, it's our flag, and that doesn't mean, that the corporate bullshit to us. It's what we believe Australia is all about, and that flag may well still be adopted as the Australian flag, and those who carry on and wave the red can still carry on and wave the red. There's no problem with that. It shouldn't be a means for division. And I know those with the red will say, well, the people waving the blue flag don't understand what it means. Well, maybe they don't. But waving a red flag in their face and calling them a fool isn't going to educate them, nor is it going to make 1/15th of difference in our fight to get rid of a corrupt government. It's a distraction. It's something to drag us away, to take our focus off what should be our singular and only goal, and that is to remove this corrupt, foreign, belligerent occupier, commonly called a government, or the Australian government. And we need to have a deep, deep look at what comes next, because there are many, many people preparing on the sidelines, and I commend Joel Jamal for the work he's doing, because while I am not a political animal, Joel is, and he understands how that is an important aspect of what is to come in the future. I mean, what happens if tomorrow all the politicians are arrested and we get a general come on our TV screens at sunrise and give a speech saying, well, all these corrupt bastards are, currently being held in various military installations around the country where they will be placed on trial, and life, the universe, and everything will proceed in an orderly manner from there. Then what happens? Will they introduce Ricardo Bozzi as an interim administration officer, let's call it? I know there's certain aspects of that sound quite appealing, as long as the communication lines are open. We'll see what happens. But the people will say what's going. Yep, all right, Crunch. Okay. The people will say what's going. I agree. However, the people at the moment, the vast majority of people want to be led. They do not want to come to these decisions. These are too big. I've got to figure out how to pay my mortgage this month or my rent this week. And you want me to try and figure out how to overthrow a government? And it's not overthrowing a government. It's just these people are not working for us. It's quite obvious. They believe we're blind and they're getting away with it. And we've proved, I think, with enough media attention, good and bad, that there is certainly enough dissent in the country for the government to be worried. And that's why there are all these sovereign citizen stories. And I was reading news.com.au the other day for some reason, and stories about Desi, actually. And there were two stories on the page back to back about Desi and Victoria. One of them started out with alleged sovereign citizen Desi, and then the other one started out with sovereign citizen Desi. So somebody was using the alleged term, which is good. You should allege that, because that gives you a face-saving way out when you understand that you can't bring sovereign and citizen together and have it be anything other than an oxymoron, which in many people's, those writers' cases, is probably not a bad thing. They'll be familiar with the last part of that word anyway. However, these aren't stupid people writing these articles. These aren't stupid people, for the most part, presenting television news. They have been given directives to refer to people as sovereign citizens. So they do, without actually understanding the difference. And you could explain it to them and it wouldn't make one jot of difference. Not one. So anyway. Brett, yes, I heard Jono, Captain, what's his name? Pirate John, did a live. I've got it on my phone here. I was watching a bit of it earlier. Of course, John is in damage control at the moment. Now, the interview he's done is with Chris Goveries, which is great, because he's got nowhere else to go and do it. And Chris does what I've heard of it so far, at least, a very fair and good interview. So good on to him. And John is, John does what John does. He lays out the shiny bits and puts out what is nothing but truth. We turn up, we want to feed people, we want to give them water, and we want to give them somewhere to piss. That's all we want to do. That's not all. He doesn't say that's all we want to do. He said that's what we're there for. We're there to help people, to feed them, to do this, to do the other, to do the other. But what they're also there to do is gain optics. And that is a whole different sphere of union maneuvering, if you like. Optics spinning a story, getting things to look one way and tell a narrative about it when the reality is vastly different. And that is because you will forget all the details of what happened in the Sydney parade or the Sydney rally or the Brisbane rally or the Melbourne rally. But you'll have photos and you'll have memes and things that will hang on your computer to remind you, because you thought they were funny at the time. You've saved them, you've shared them. They'll pop up in 10 years' time. Say, oh, you remember this? So John's trying to put a narrative out that was all it was. We were there to help. It's almost like all he's missing is that habit that the nuns wear. Because, we were just there to do the good. We were just doing the good work. I know the full story, and that's where they have a problem, because I know the full story. I know the plan. I knew what they planned to do, and I know even the Aussie Cossack admits it. You know, he is a narrative spinner. He is a storyteller. He is an optics man. So optics, go and look up what optics are, and I don't mean just, for your eyes or through a lens or anything else. I'm talking about propaganda optics. Look up how that works, propaganda, or the psychology of optics, and you'll get an understanding of where their plan came from. And I'm not saying anything they could sue me for, because I know the plan. It was told to me, even though I tried to talk a couple of times, maybe stop them telling me, but that didn't happen either. Did I have a should have gone to Specsavers moment? Oh, there you go, Michelle. Plenty of people saying the cretin is doing wonderful work. Albo Sleazy doing wonderful work. Well, he's made a couple of announcements today. We now have a global emissions target for 2035 of between 62 and 70% by 2035. 2035. So that means we're going to be running on renewables, a subsidized industry that couldn't and will never be able to fund itself based on its output. They're predicting more cyclones, more rain, more droughts. These big windmills don't produce any power. The big fan, she don't turn if the wind blows over, I think it's about 12 knots. Climate change, they're predicting, is going to increase our winds, increase our everything bad. But solar and wind power are going to help us, except there's going to be more storms. That'll be more clouds. That'll be more rain, more floods. Well, solar's not going to help us when it's flooding. So the renewable energy scam, and it is a scam, and I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but let's hope some normies see this. It is a scam. The logic does not work up. The argument they use destroys the efficiency of that which they put up as the solution for all this shit. It doesn't work like that. It can't work like that. Logic dictates it'll never work like that. What sort of a plan is that? That's a plan to funnel money out of the government and the people into other people to tear down pristine bush, rip up pristine farmland, and make a shitload of money putting up some of the ugliest structures ever created on an Australian horizon, all in return for a huge amount of money, subsidies that come from us. And then we keep paying all the way through until that thing falls out of the fins break off it, the blades break off it, the oil leaks out of it, all I think it's 6 or 7 tons of oil in every one of those big fans. And they catch fire, they fall over, they burn, they get dragged away. And depending on who owns it, you might get a new one put up or you might not. And if you don't, you're left with a cement pad that's about 3 stories deep. And I'm not even sure the army explosives people could remove it in one go. It is that a big a chunk of reinforced concrete and steel. Just impossible. Well, fill the hole in, let the cows graze over the top. The grass will grow back. Well, maybe so, but do you want to leave that concrete and steel structure just rotting away in the dirt? Well, there's a lot of farmers who have a lot of steel structures sitting on their property, old steel farm implements that are just rusting away in a corner of a paddock. They could be put to other use. Just saying. Sure, we could think of good uses for them. Oh, yeah, more tornadoes. Yep. Well, that'll mean the big fans will never work again, Crunch, because they'll all be falling over. And the solar panels, well, they'll be torn out of the ground with the tornadoes. So there's a reason there's not so much solar in Tornado Alley in America. Go and have a bit of a look and see how many people put solar in Tornado Alley. Unbelievable. Jesus. You're 100% on the money there. We could well be living under bridges. That could be a bit worse. What's happening with Dutton? Peter Dutton's wife is busy indicating our kids in her... indoctrinating. Welcome to country every morning. I was so pleased that I didn't see at the Sydney event or the Melbourne event a welcome to country. I didn't see the beginning of the Brisbane event. And look, I'm over Bash and Tricky. It is what it is. If people have either woken up or they haven't, if they need another chance to wake up, I don't know. How many chances do you need? And this gets back to what I was saying earlier about people in Melbourne know Melbourne, people in Sydney know Sydney, people in Brisbane know Brisbane, and in every other town. And there are a lot of people who have various different small, thin links into a web that unites them all. But they don't really know the background on them all. And sometimes you wind up being told a story from somebody who can speak very eloquently and very passionately, very emotively. And that gets the empaths in the group immediately. And you wind up thinking, oh, no, it's all got to be, you're all confused. It's all wrong. We're not all wrong. We've just had a lot more experience and been on the receiving end a few more times. So that's why when we unite, and we will all come together, it'll be openly, it will be honestly, and there'll be no animosity, nothing held back, no bullshit, I remember when kind of crap. If we're going to do this, there will be a very strict and defined set of guidelines, I suspect. And people who step outside it will be excluded, then, I would say. Because if you can't be the team, if you can't play with the team, teams playing together are how games are won, how goals are reached. But if each member of the team says, oh, yeah, I'm a part of the team, right until you get to the, centre half forward or, the 10-metre line, and then all of a sudden, everybody wants the ball and everybody wants to be the person to score the goal. It can't be like that. We all have to come together. We all have to go over that line or put the ball through the goal together. And we can't do that if we're looking back and saying, oh, I remember when. But to gain that level of confidence to move forward in a group like that, there needs to be defined consequences for going outside of the rules, for coming to the meetings and saying, yeah, I agree with everything, and then turning up and doing something completely different and not agreed to by the group, who are all trying to put out one message through all of their nationwide rallies. And to have each state, let's call it, then go off and do their own thing by ignoring. Some will stick together for sure, but others will go, oh no, I nodded my head and said, yeah, but we're going to do this. That can't happen, and there must be consequences if that is happening. And I thought last weekend was pretty much one of those moments, and the consequences are being felt very strongly. Yeah. Tony, I don't know how those turbines work. I mean, it's a big fan. I'm wondering, a big propeller. I'm wondering whether or not the blokes that install it, one of whom is a mate of mine, I should ask him how they managed to do that, because they're all really good abseilers. So like a good remote control petrol engine plane, maybe one of them gets out on the end of the blade and just swings off it and just starts it turning. I don't know. We'll have to go and find out how they do it. Yeah, the birds, God, these things kill hundreds and hundreds of birds each every year. For whatever reason, the birds fly through, get hit. It's not very good at all. Black Sheep's in the room. G'day, mate. Macca. G'day, Belinda. The fans contaminate the surrounds. Well, I remember the first complaints of people in the Ararat Beaufort area, I want to say. This goes back a long time since I was living in that area or even associated with it. There were farmers and farmers' wives particularly complaining about headaches, and that this whoomp, whoomp, whoomp noise was at a frequency that was hurting the cattle, and the cattle were, really spooked by it. It was also having an effect on the farmers whose land these things were on, because this whoomp, whoomp, whoomp frequency was quite a problem. So I don't know if that ever was fully proven or debunked, or they had to make changes to designs. And I know that they have made changes to the windmill propeller design, or the windmill design, maybe for that very reason. But not skilled in that area at all. I'd prefer just to see how you bring them down. Oh, Cupid. In South Australia, for many years, growing hooch in South Australia was legal if you were growing it for personal use. And I can't remember the exact figures, but I want to say you could have, at one point, you could have up to 11 plants of your own, for your own personal use, 11 plants. And that was every person in South Australia could do that. I seem to recall South Australia being the place that supplied the rest of the country for weed back in those days, because everybody took advantage of this. Now, of course, not everybody smoked the weed or wanted to be a dealer, but there were plenty of bike clubs and all that kind of thing who'd say, oh, you got a spare shed, we could come in, we could rent that shed off you for, I don't know, how would you like 20 grand for 3 months? And they'd say, yeah, great. So they'd come around and they'd set up a hydroponics kit in this shed, and somebody'd turn up once a week and curate the thing, and old mate would say, great, no worries. And when it's ready to be picked, they'd come around and pick it and give the old mate 20 grand and go away. Oh, yeah, we'll see you next time. That's how it worked. So the South Australian government decided they were going to cut back on the amount of personal use weed that South Australians were allowed to have. And I think they cut it back to 1, possibly 3, now that I think about it. And there was a bit of a kick up about it, but it obviously got pushed down in the media. Nobody really cared until the state electricity supplier, after 3 or 4 months or after 6 months, started making noises that they needed some sort of movement on this number. It might have been one plant. They needed one sort of movement because they needed to start making money again. Because when there were people, growing plants, 11 of them in a shed, not because they used the stuff or wanted to be a dealer, but because they were getting paid 20 grand to do it. And essentially, it wasn't, getting the money from a biking club probably isn't legal, but they were able to grow that sort of hooch. What are they going to do with the however many pounds of hooch that would have been? So how do they grow it? They use grow lights. So when they cut the amount of plants that you could grow in South Australia from 11 down to 1, let's call it, then the power company had all these people unplug their grow lights, and their profits nosed over completely. So they went to the government, complained about it, and sure enough, it went back up to, I think, 7 for a little while, and I think now it's back at 3. But the 7 was to allow a lot of people, and particularly the South Australian Energy Company, to regain some money. There was also a lot of talk that there were a number of South Australian politicians who had very large interests in their properties, buried in their properties, so to speak, that were growing quite a lot out of there at the time. But I say rumour only. Rumour only. I don't know too much about that. Now then, I did say there was something medicinal use stuff only slots, 100%. There are a lot of sick people in South Australia, a lot. I understand. Remember Snowtown? Oh, different kind of sick. Beg your pardon. I was going to say something and you threw me off. The police commissioner in Tasmania grew 5 acres of dope. Oh, God, don't we love these corrupt governments? Wonderful people. He's in the house. He's only got one eye on it, but he is in the house. G'day, mate. I hope you are well. I'm just trying to get through a few more chats here. How long have I rattled on? God, nearly 50 minutes. I do have a few things to show you. That was only one of the smaller crops. That's weird because Tasmania is the largest provider of opium in the world. Tasmania provides the raw opium for the pharmaceutical industry. Are you aware? And now that opium growing ability is spreading to the mainland. I think there are, I might be wrong, but certain areas in Victoria, I think, are also growing those crops, have been for a while. And these are very dangerous crops to grow, not just because they're growing opium poppies, but because if kids jump the fence and, get pricked by one of these things, and you get a little bit of that white juice that comes out of them into your system, it can kill you very, very, very quickly. The Tasmanian grade opium is the highest grade opium in the world, and that's why the pharmaceutical companies pay best for it. And Tasmania is the ideal place to grow it, not just from a climate perspective, but also from a security perspective, because you cannot get it out of the state. You cannot get out of the state unless you have a plane or a boat or a submarine. But that's a story for another night. We've done that, haven't we? All right. I'm just going to show you a couple of other little pictures. There's been one thing here I've wanted to show you for a long time, and I can't remember if I've shown it to you or not. But I know many of us of a certain age always had a dream of going to Disneyland maybe and I know for little girls, the princesses in Disney movies and Disney cartoons for the years has always been the hook. And it's lovely that, kids get such great enjoyment out of it. And I guess Disney always put themselves forward as, for kids at heart, older people, taking them back to their childhood. They're very, very good at it. But here's a bit of a look at what happened. Sorry. It's all in plain sight, folks. And especially when they're standing at the urinal. So it's all around us, sadly. All around us. Now, do I want to go down there tonight? No, I don't think I want to talk about that fully tonight. I do want to show you something that has caught my eye. Now, this is a new form of police protection that I'm sure will be rolled out very soon in the US and probably shortly thereafter in Australia. This is going to be a bit of a game changer when we the people go to protest. I am your father, Luke. Bloody hell. Now, what you don't see there is that there are flexible joints in the arms, the elbows, shoulders, wrists, knees, hips, and apparently there is an actual human being inside that thing. It's billed as an impenetrable shell, a bit like a modern-day suit of armor, and it certainly does appear to be pretty bloody tough. It's tough enough to have the user survive an explosion from a reasonably close proximity. It will provide enough protection for them to not get, shredded by shrapnel. Whether or not they actually survive the impact of whatever they hit at the other end, who knows? Or the concussion blast itself, who knows? But you've got to think, if you come up against a group of those coppers at your next rally, that's the level of control they're going to, folks. And don't think about it running into a bunch of them at your next rally. Think about running into them at your front door when the doorbell rings one night and they've turned up because you've said something on Facebook, you've typed something on Facebook that somebody got offended with. And now you've got to go to jail because, you might have offended a Disney princess. Sad, very sad, but it is what it is. The EU, bit of good news there. They've finally come out that the safety data, well, there was none. It has now left the EU open to explain how it was okay to mislead the people, not tell them they were being part of a medical experiment. They were having a test applied to them, and where that leaves compensation for those people who have been affected by this coercion, this decision by the European Parliament to enforce something that was untested on the people of Europe. The same question needs to be fed deeply into the Australian psyche, and more evidence is appearing every day about it. I don't know how often you got to go and see a doctor. I have to, unfortunately, go and see one tomorrow. I have a thing. Find me thing. My thing, you probably can't see it. There is a thing there. It's a bit of a painful thing, if I'm honest. If I lean on it the wrong way, if I do something silly. So it attracted my attention a couple of weeks ago, and it was very hard, like a bit like a wart. And I just thought, oh, I'll go and get that burnt off. Turns out it's not a wart. And they don't encourage me to do my own at-home surgery. There's probably good reason for that. That's the only knife I've got. So, I mean, I have no doubt it's sharp enough to do the job, but they don't recommend that I do the job on myself. So I got to go and have that chopped out tomorrow morning. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit nervous about the anesthetic that they will use to numb the area around it and remove it, because of the shit that I know that it's in anesthetic. But it's in everything these days. And as we saw recently here in Queensland, they're spraying us at night with a very strange fog. It's a very, very weird fog. It's the same fog they've sprayed for years in Queensland and in other places. I saw videos last year of it in Victoria, I think, around central Victoria. And it's not snow, it's not fog. It's white and it's weird, but and I don't think it's very healthy. So we're getting a lot of this put into us in various different ways. If you're not out in that weird fog breathing it in, then that weird fog's falling in your water supply and you're probably drinking it in. We'd be naive, I think, in many ways to think if they are trying to get this evil kind of shit into us, then it'll be going into us in various different ways, because they know a certain portion of the population will not accept it. And we are that proportion. So what we haven't got is the neural transmitters and all the other bits and pieces that came in with the hyper inflation, if you like, or speed of what they were planning with the jab. So that's the one saving grace. But yeah, I still feel a bit nervous about the whole thing, and I've been weighing up whether or not I'm actually tough enough to do it without anesthetic. And I think I've finally come to the conclusion that I'm not, because I got a splinter in my finger today while we were moving some wood, and that was just painful enough. So yeah, didn't leave that. Yeah, I crunch, you're 100% right. I believe that the police robots will start in Victoria and in Canberra with the AFP. The AFP will then roll them out through airports, because they will be able to walk through. Think of it at any port of entry. They will be able to scan every person who steps off the plane as they step off the plane. They'll be able to communicate with others further up the race and have that person taken for whatever reason and interviewed or abducted. Interviewed and arrested for whatever reason. And we will see them rolled out in those sorts of areas first before they become police on our streets, but it won't be far afterwards. They will get them working in those service sort of areas initially, where you'll still see a lot of humans around, and they may still have a level of control. Those sorts of robotic units will be used to identify and detain, and then, at least in the short term, humans will still have some say in what happens after that. But yeah, I think you're right about that, Jay. Absolutely. And wouldn't it be a great industry to have being built here in Australia? And we do have the wizardry, the electronics genius. They may not have gone to RMIT and got degrees in electronic engineering, but I know people who build robots now. Okay, they don't have two legs, walk around like a human, but they are extremely capable units, and some of them capable of running to a point autonomously. So we have some very talented people there. Why can't we grow that? Why can't we grow robots that are good for the use of Australian people doing the great things for Australia? Why can't we get them to dig a new river, a new system, so that Australia becomes drought-proof. It would allow us to open up the centre of this country and become a food bowl to the world. I wouldn't mind robots that could do that. That'd be all right. Here's Mr. Gold himself. Hello, mate. Nice to see you're in. Robots can be spoofed just like the drones. Yes, toxic. I agree. That's probably the biggest issue. And the Prime Directive. They're going to use Asimov's directives. You know that, don't you? If you're not a sci-fi reader, you probably don't know that. Go and look up Isaac Asimov and his robot rules. Pete, you started something talking in the chat. You're going to have to give me an idea when these gold encrusted, bejeweled and bedazzled and wonderful holders might turn up. I know I'm talking it up a bit because people are very keen to see them. Very, very keen indeed. So if you've got a photo, when you get one printed off, I know you haven't got any printed off yet, but if you get one done, I'd love to see a photo, and people are very keen to get them. So look out, you and the young bloke. We're going to have to pay you for it, obviously, and look after you for the rolls of blue and gold instead of silver on the Byron Bob holders. All right, I've talked enough tonight. Thank you very much, folks, for sharing a bit of your time with me this evening. Tomorrow night, it really is going to be a Q&A. We're going to run the show a little bit differently. Vince will be running the show. I'll be the guest on the show. And that's because you will be able to fire questions at me, and Vince will be able to find them in the chat and put them up, and I will answer them. So if you have any questions, and I'm not suggesting for a moment I have all the answers, but if there are things that you feel I might have information that I can share with you, and you don't get the opportunity, and I'm increasingly getting a lot of phone calls from people who are trying to get the intel. They've got, a lot of the same questions. So Vince and I were talking about it the other day, and I thought, well, let's do a show where you ask me questions. So if there is stuff that you can tell me, great. If there is stuff if there's a question you ask me and there's stuff I can tell you and I've got knowledge to, I will. If I've got knowledge to it and I can't tell you, I'll tell you that. And if I have no knowledge, I'll tell you that. Because I'm not going to discount things that I have no knowledge of, because I have no doubt there is a shitload of stuff going on, not just here in this country, but all around the world that I have absolutely no knowledge on. All right. Shouldn't be far off. Having a print on a different angle for less print lines. I guess that means something to somebody who knows. You're a legend, dude. We'll see the 3D version first. Righto. Love your work. There is a leveling plate on these things that Vince was trying to explain to me yesterday, and that's why he's made some very decent changes to that, and now is having absolutely no problems at all printing. So I'm guessing the boys are having a similar kind of teething problem. Vince may have a hint for them there. I have a vague recollection he had a cheat for it. Yes, get back into setting up the Ainsley Saver. 100%. Why wouldn't you? If you can only put in 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 a time, whether that be a day, week, or month, or whatever you can work out, it's whatever you put it into, gold or silver, at the moment, it's only going to appreciate. Okay, it's not in your hand, but as soon as you've got enough of it bought, you can go in and get it. Absolutely. I wouldn't go in and get a gram of silver, for instance, or probably a gram of gold. I'd wait until I had enough for half an ounce or whatever of gold, and maybe go in and trade that in then. But I'd still be wanting to keep adding to the account so that I could get more of it. That's the goal with this. You've got to keep it in a little bit for it to grow. And there are plenty of people watching this show right now that have held silver from the time where it was $16 or $14 an ounce. And they still have that same coin or that same bar, in most cases it's a bar, from when it was $16 an ounce. So that's the oldest I've heard so far. A lot of people who've had it in the 20s, 21, 22, but one person. So good luck to them. It's only going up, and it's bouncing again. So the market, I think, has been affected by the Federal Reserve's announcement today, and that's where that reaction's gone. And in the time we have spoken, it has gone up another, what was it when we was talking? $62.87, was it? Well, it's now $63.09. So since we started the show, it's gone up 25 cents or whatever, and the American markets are opened. The Fed announcement happened late yesterday, their time. So the market's now reacting. Gold has jumped a little too, 55.2304, and platinum is still sitting pretty solid, just under 2100. So yeah, I'd expect another little kick today, folks. I think it'll go beyond $64 again, and you might see it even gets close to 65. I did say I don't think we'll see 63 again, so keep that in mind. I don't know. I'm not an analyst. What about copper? Thanks, Crunch. Mate, if I'm not tracking it, I've got nowhere to store it. And it's interesting, we had a discussion, Dwayne, the guy on the property, and I had a discussion about this the other day. We came across something where we could have stripped the wires and got the copper out. It would have taken us some hours to strip all the copper out. And the result of those hours of work would have been a ball of copper that would just be copper wire, maybe the size of a softball, and we wouldn't get very much for it. So we gave that up as a bad bet. I wish we'd thought about that before we started spending 2 days scrapping steel, because I can tell you, you work your ass off for 2 days digging this crap out and throwing it on a truck to get $165 for it was a bit disheartening for both of us, I've got to say. But anyway, we sorted it, and we've got a bit more weight we can take now with a few other bits and pieces. So we'll visit them again and hopefully have a more joyous experience. But God, scrap is not good. Yeah, Brett, a mechanical stripper. I am told that is the way to do it, but we didn't have one of those. We just had the old manual version, and not enough time. So yeah, top dollars for copper. Yeah, 100%. Copper is a great get if you can get copper and you've got somewhere to store it. It is great, and better still, if you've got a friend who's opening a copper mine, put some shares in that. Get some money in that. Also, if you've got a friend who's got a gold mine, it might be worth seeing if they need a bit of an investment for equipment, because gold's only going up, folks. It's only going up. And for those folks that have been following the show for a while, Rob from Gold Brothers Mining in far north Queensland, up in the Palmer River, they have just posted a video. Rob's posted a video on his YouTube channel. They've just set up their new dome, which is one of those huge domes. They're going to live underneath that. They've got another one they can work under, which is a bit smaller. And their new, I think it's 100 ton a day. Yeah. I think their new trommel can do 100 tons of dirt a day. So they're looking forward to getting that rolling. It's been a big build process for them. And hopefully I might get an invite to go back up and see what they've done with the place. But if you've got friends in mining, folks, who happen to know a bit about copper, know a bit about gold or silver, because I hear around Silverton there is a lot of people out looking for a little bit of ground to go digging. And Silverton was near Broken Hill, was named because of the silver mine there. I don't know if there's any thoughts about reopening it. That might bugger up the Mad Max festival that happens every year out there. But anyway, that Mad Max Festival is certainly a place you want to go and check out if you ever have the opportunity. Head on out to Broken Hill and then take the little leap. I think it's only about 25 k's out of town to Silverton for the Mad Max Festival that they put on out there. My God, some of the people, some of the get up and all of the cars. Well, I can tell you, there's certainly no dickheads on the roads out there. They're just some wild buggers.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!